The 5 best episodes of Star Trek. Voyager Season 1 set up Captain Janeway's show to become legendary. Star Trek. Voyager first premiered in 1995, a golden age for Star Trek as a franchise. At the time, Star Trek Deep Space Nine was still airing, and Star Trek The Next Generation had only reached its own dramatic finale a year earlier. On the one hand, this was great for Voyager since it meant that the series should have an existing fan base from day one. On the other hand, however, The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine were both popular enough shows that Voyager had some pretty big shoes to fill. But while TNG's Enterprise was the flagship of the Federation patrolling the Alpha Quadrant, and while DS9's Wormhole was the gateway to the Gamma Quadrant, Voyager's showrunners launched the show all the way to the Delta Quadrant. This meant that the USS Voyager was not only facing threats never seen before in Star Trek, but also completely isolated from any help from Starfleet. While this radically different setting might have made some early viewers nervous, the 5 best episodes in Season 1 proved that Voyager was always going to be legendary. One of the defining aspects of Star Trek Voyager is that half of the USS Voyager's crew are not Starfleet officers, but Maquis rebels stranded in the Delta Quadrant at the same time as Voyager. And perhaps the most iconic of these Maquis crew members is Voyager's half-human, half-Klingon chief engineer, Lieutenant B'Elanna Torres Roxanne Dawson. LT Torres was a polarizing figure for Voyager's crew, but her confidence and indomitable sense of justice made her instantly beloved by viewers. And the Season 1 episode, Faces, is the episode that solidified LT Torres' characterization for the rest of the show. What makes Faces succeed as an episode is how explicit it makes the conflict that B'Elanna will face for the rest of the show. Namely, the tension B'Elanna Torres feels between her human and Klingon heritages, and the corresponding tension she feels between Starfleet structures and Maquis freedom. In almost every episode, B'Elanna Torres is successful as a chief engineer because she is able to unite the two sides of her nature in order to come up with practical, out-of-the-box solutions to the tension B'Elanna Torres feels between her human and Klingon heritages, and the corresponding tension she feels between Starfleet structures and Maquis freedom. Faces is a window onto the psyche of one of Voyager's most interesting characters, and it sets up a conflict that will matter for the rest of the series. For anyone new to watching the series, Faces certainly promised good things for the rest of the show. But although Faces is certainly in the top 5 episodes of Season 1, it really only focuses on one character's story. And Voyager is not a story about just one character, but the entire cast of characters that became the Voyager family. At the end of Voyager's premiere in the 2-part episode, Caretaker, Captain Catherine Janeway Kate Mulgrew made a promise to her crew that she would do her best to get Voyager home as soon as possible while staying true to Starfleet principles. In the first 9 episodes of the show, those two values seem not to be in conflict. There are episodes where Voyager has chances to get closer to home, and there are episodes where Voyager has to uphold the Prime Directive. And in the first 9 episodes, the balance between those two ideals seems easy to maintain. Star Trek Voyager launched in 1995 with a bold premise: a Federation starship stranded 70,000 light-years from home, facing the unknown in the uncharted Delta Quadrant. But what truly set Voyager apart was its fearless captain, Catherine Janeway, and the strong foundation laid in its first season. While not without its growing pains, Season 1 introduced key characters, ethical dilemmas, and alien threats that would shape the series and help it earn its place in the Star Trek pantheon. These 5 standout episodes lit the path for Voyager to become legendary. 1. Caretaker Episodes 1 and 2, We're Alone, in an Uncharted Part of the Galaxy. The 2-part pilot episode Caretaker didn't just kick off a new Trek series. It redefined what a Star Trek show could be. Tasked with pursuing a Maquis vessel, the USS Voyager is flung across the galaxy by a dying alien entity known as the Caretaker. In a bold and controversial move, Captain Janeway sacrifices the only way home in order to protect a species known as the Ocampa, marooning her crew in the Delta Quadrant. This foundational episode establishes Janeway's unshakable moral compass and commitment to Starfleet values, even in a lawless region of space. It also introduces the show's central tension, the uneasy alliance between Starfleet officers and Maquis rebels. The stakes, the characters, and the setting all coalesce in Caretaker, promising viewers a Trek journey unlike any before. 2. Phage Episode 5. You Steal Organs from Living People? Phage introduces one of Voyager's most chilling recurring antagonists, the Vidians, a race afflicted with a flesh-eating disease that forces them to harvest organs from others. When Neelix has his lungs stolen, the crew must grapple with the ethics of survival and medical desperation. This episode gave Voyager a much-needed dark and dangerous edge. The Vidians weren't cartoon villains. They were intelligent, tortured beings doing awful things to stay alive. The moral complexity showcased here would become a defining trait of Voyager, setting it apart from its Trek predecessors. 3. Eye of the Needle Episode 7. It's a chance. However small, it's a chance. This episode gives the crew its first glimmer of hope for contacting the Alpha Quadrant. When Voyager discovers a micro-wormhole and makes contact with a Romulan on the other side, it leads to one of the series' most poignant early moments. Just when it seems they might be able to send messages, or even themselves, through, a twist reveals the Romulan is from 20 years in the past. Eye of the Needle is a perfect example of Voyager's ability to deliver emotional storytelling alongside its sci-fi concepts. It underscores the loneliness of the crew's journey while highlighting their resilience. It also subtly reinforces Janeway's role as both captain and emotional anchor, keeping hope alive in the bleakest circumstances. 4. Prime Factors Episode 10. You can use our database, but we cannot share our technology. Prime Factors explores a central theme of Voyager, the price of principle. When the crew encounters the Sicarians, a hedonistic culture with transport technology that could cut 40 years off their journey, they are faced with a maddening dilemma. The Sicarians refuse to share it, and Janeway must enforce Federation law, even as her crew contemplates breaking it. This episode deepens the rift between Janeway's ideals and her crew's desperation. It also shows that even in the Delta Quadrant, the Prime Directive cuts both ways. The story cements Janeway's character, empathetic, but unbending when it comes to ethical compromise, and plants the seeds for future tensions among the crew. 5. State of Flux Episode 11. Seska was never who she claimed to be. Season 1's penultimate episode pays off the Starfleet Maquis friction introduced in the pilot. When Kazon enemies receive advanced technology, suspicion falls on Maquis crew members. The shocking reveal that Seska, a seemingly loyal crew member, is actually a Cardassian spy working with the Kazon is a major turning point. State of Flux is a suspenseful, character-driven thriller that demonstrates how the show's central premise can be mined for political intrigue. It's also a turning point for Chakotay, who must reckon with his misplaced trust. Most importantly, it adds new layers to Voyager's tone, proving the show isn't afraid to shake up its status quo. Conclusion. Season 1 of Star Trek. Voyager wasn't just a beginning, it was a bold declaration. These 5 episodes introduced ethical complexity, emotional depth, and an unforgettable captain. While later seasons would expand on the mythology and character arcs, these early entries proved that Voyager was more than just another